Well, hello everybody. I'm Ana de Torre and I'm going to share some of the results of my PhD. Today, I'm going to talk about how shrub patches influence plant species composition and biological structure in post-mining pastures. Facilitation process in ecology refers to positive non-trophic interactions between organisms in which one of them benefits and none is damaged. And this process has been observed in some shrubs that can improve microclimatic condition and also edaphic properties, and they can also offer protection against herbivores. And this way, shrubs can help herbaceous plants and also tree seedlings to establish themselves. And this facilitation process is really important in degraded lands, such as those resulting from open pit coal mining activity that was a common practice in the north of Spain in the last decades. And in many cases, these degraded lands has been rehabilitated to pastures with grazing use, as you can see in the right-hand photo. And in these pastures, it has been observed that some shrubs such as Genista florida or Cithisus scoparius has colonized them. And these shrubs here can play an important role in the facilitation processes. And these lands have an important lack of soil structure. So the main objective of our work is to assess shrub patches' influence on the herbaceous layer in these post-mining pastures, and also to quantify their effects on the biological structure of the plant community in terms of plant families, lifespan, and rank-wire life forms. The study was carried out in the north of Spain, specifically in the north of Palencia, near Guardo. This area is characterized by a Mediterranean subhumid climate with a summer drought that causes water stress for plants. And the pasture is surrounded by a Quercus petrae forest that once occupied this area before the coal extraction. Here you see the experimental design. This is the mine called El Sestil that was rehabilitated to pasture in the 90s. And the red dots are the 5 sites we sampled. And on each side, we sampled a shrubby patch and a non-shrubby patch. This is an example of an shrubby patch that is dominated by a Genista florida, a large individual of Genista florida, surrounded by other smaller shrubs, such as itself or Cithisus scoparius, and to a lesser extent, Rosa canina, Rubus ulmifolius, or Crataigus monogina. And this is an example of a non-shrubby patch in the open pasture that was at least 8 meters away from the shrubs that you can see at the back of the photo. So what we did in spring 2024 was collecting samples under Genista florida patches and also in the open pasture. And following the 8 orientation, we used 20 centimeter side quadras to visually measure the percentage cover of each vascular plant species, moss, and total vascular plant. And with an hydrosense device, we also measure the soil moisture. And with each vascular plant species, we grouped it by plant families and also by rank-wire life form, as you can see in the illustration, and by lifespan to use them as variables. And with the vegan package in our studio, we perform a detrended correspond analysis of these species cover inventories, and we perform MV function to fit the variables over the ordination, and with the ordi-ellipse function, we project the variables that were significant. So here now you can see the result. This is the DCA of the 80 species cover inventories. And now in colors, you can see the inventories located in the open pasture in green versus the ones located under Genista florida patches in yellow. And the standard deviation ellipses groups inventories with similar species composition in this graphic based on the position. That was a significant factor. And we also found significance in the site and in the interaction between position and site, and in the interaction between position and orientation. Therefore, there are clear differences in species composition in the inventories located in the open pasture and in the ones that was under Genista florida patches. And we also find differences among the inventories that are located under Genista florida patches, and this can be inferred from the larger size of the leaves, as you can see, the larger size of the leaves in the shrubby patches than the one that is in the open pasture, that is smaller, meaning that there is more homogeneity. Now we are projecting in blue arrows significant variables related to family plants, and we see that the families that predominate in the shrubby patches are Poaceae, Violaceae, and Rubiaceae, and the ones that predominate in the open pasture are Fabaceae and Plantaginaceae family. And Asteraceae seem to occur in both positions. We are now projecting other variables. We see that moss cover and soil moisture is higher in the shrubby patches, and the vascular plant cover is higher in the open pasture, probably because there is fewer space occupied by the mosses. And finally, we are projecting variables related to rank-wire life form and lifespan. We find in the shrubby patches perennial herbs that are hemicryptophytes, and also woody plants that are phanerophytes, like the regenerated of Genista, Cytisus, or Rubus, and also camephytes that were mainly Arenaria montana and Stellaria lostea. And on the other hand, in the open pasture, we find short lifespan herbs that are pterophytes, probably because they can tolerate better water stress since they pass through the summer in a sheet form. And finally, as a conclusion, there is an effect of the shrub patches on plant species composition that is mediated by the site and the orientation, and specifically these Genista florida patches promote Poaceae, Violaceae, and Rubiaceae family cover, soil humidity, and mosses. These communities are dominated by perennial herbs and woody species, and in the open pasture, Plantaginaceae and Fabaceae are more abundant. There is greater vascular plant cover that is dominated by herbs with short lifespan. This way, shrub patches shape plant community structure in this post-mining pasture, and so they can have an important role in restoration and management strategies for these degraded ecosystems. And well, I want to thank every member of the Restore Mine project, and thank you for listening.